All right, and we are live. Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Tori, and I am hosting these three Grimoire Discord booktubers here with me this evening. It should be a good time. Do you guys want to introduce yourselves for any random people in the comments who possibly don't know who you are? Theo.
Oh no, I knew that was going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
In school, and I'm always just picked up. Okay, my name's Theo. My channel's Rekindled Reader. Yeah, gym class, pick laugh, but same idea. Yeah, and my channel is like most of you guys, I think, probably fantasy and a little bit of sci-fi, some horror stuff. And one day I met these guys, and the Grimoire started, and we're all kind of pretending to be friends for everyone else. So yeah,
to keep everyone's sanity.
To keep it, yeah, we're still friends. That's fine.
We have to keep kayfabe.
You done? I'd go.
I'm good. That's all I got.
All right.
So
Hi,
my internet's being weird already. So for anybody who doesn't know, there's a thunderstorm. It just started thunderstorming again after looking like a perfectly fine spring evening for like 3 hours. So if I accidentally disappear, you guys can.
We're gonna carry the torch for a while and see what. Yeah,
Alex, who are you?
I'm Alex.
Who are you, Alex?
I run the channel Tall Guy Reads, and I met Theo and RJ through. Well, Theo started his channel like pretty much right around the same exact time that I started mine.
Yeah, I think so.
Started a little bit before me, and then we kind of just
you obviously figured it out. I'm still kind of learning.
Stole each other's ideas, and then and then grew our channels, and then we decided to join, kind of make the Grimoire with Baron, and it's been a fun ride so far. A lot of fun times. We did a September TBR stream that was a lot of fun. Ended in flames along the way, but that was a fun one.
It kind of started in flames.
I mean, it literally ended in flames.
It started.
I set everything on fire. Like it was crazy, ending.
Go watch that stream. The entire thing just blows up.
Yeah, we're all ghosts. We actually died that day. We're not here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. But yeah, you go, RJ.
So is it me? Okay.
RJ, who are you?
Chaos. I am RJ. I run the channel RJ Reads. I talk about fantasy and some sci-fi. I did like one video on sci-fi, so I guess that's kind of broad. I guess
You're a sci-fi booktuber now.
Yeah, I did one video on it, so it's all good.
Was it three body?
It was 3-body problem. And as of Sunday, I am also a BookTube Jeopardy winner. Just want to get that in.
Kevin, calm down.
Rub it in.
That's part of my intro now. So.
I was definitely going to bring that up because if you guys need to talk it out, this is a safe space.
Yeah,
we'll get to RJ's cheating later.
No, I was just better. Guys.
I'm sure that'll come out tonight.
I just knew more answers than you did. That's what it comes down to.
Oh, I knew more answers and I was quicker to buzz in and I played Jeopardy right. You know what, RJ? Cool it.
I'm happy.
Kevin's
to play
right. Winner
moderator.
is putting it lightly.
Right.
RJ destroyed us.
10 grand.
It was close for like pockets of the game when Alex and I figured out like what we're supposed to do.
I didn't say when it was close at the beginning. It was close at the beginning.
Well, actually, the first round was was close. The second round is really where, honestly, the booktube category is where RJ just took off.
We got swept. Yeah.
And
then the historical fiction ones, like took that too.
I've seen so many. That double Jeopardy round that's a lot of points, and if somebody can like really get on a roll, they're
Yeah. And I was playing it safe, so the ones that I was like, oh, can I get like this category for like $2.20? Like I was just not interested in betting. Yeah.
I also was trying to learn the category as I was going. Like outside of watching other Jeopardy, it was very different when you were actually
interesting.
And then you started asking these perhaps questions, and I was just like, I have no idea. Just blanking entirely.
Perhaps is more about knowing Alan's brain and how he thinks through things than anything else, and that's what scares me about it.
Absolutely. But kudos to him, because that was a lot of work for him to prepare, and we love those. Those are it was so much fun. So much fun.
Oh, it was. Yeah.
I'm so glad he decided to start those up again. So so yeah, RJ, are you ready for the Tournament of Champions when it comes around?
Oh yeah. I'm ready for it. Let's go.
Because it's Michael Nip, and then is there somebody else already?
That's Ben from
Ben. Yeah, that's going to be a hell of a match.
Yeah, it is.
I'm betting for RJ on DraftKings.
Oh, nice. They do the odds.
Yeah, big event.
Just saying, I did feel really bad. I did feel really bad about the Ted Chiang question for Alex, because Alex buzzed in and it was like it was one of two options.
Well, to be fair, I've never read any of his stuff, and I was just like, it has to be one of two. And I was like, stories of your life and others. He's like, no.
I thought it was Exhalation because I didn't recognize either of them from Stories of Your Life and Others. So if I had buzzed in first, I probably would have guessed Exhalation.
Yeah.
I've never read any of his stories. So.
Yeah,
book math was hard.
I like math.
I got one book math. I was sitting there watching, and there were a couple times where I actually yelled at my screen. But I got a book math question right, and I was so excited because that never happens. Because there's always one. There's always one that nobody knows.
Yeah,
he just random series that I've never. He's like How many books are in this random series you've never heard of? I'm just like 17. I don't know.
You're gonna guess 3. All right, Sarah's in the chat. Hey, Sarah.
What's up?
Kev. Kay is in the chat. Penny's in. Derek, it's kind of a Florence and the Machine kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The main act.
Hello. Arliss is all in here on the RJ propaganda.
RJ is our. I was trying to make it. And Jennings. He's like, your last RJ. You're our Ken. Okay, we're not going down that road. Just go next road.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely this though.
Yeah,
also.
yeah. Alan's the teacher we all wanted in school.
Right?
And
actually,
oh my gosh.
one of my English teachers in college did a Jeopardy game to help us study for our final, and that was so much fun.
It worked, yeah.
Yep. Shockingly. No comment. But soon, hopefully.
I'm sure it'll be soon.
Yeah,
Kyle,
I think whatever
this is what Kyle said we all looked like. Kyle said we all look like this on the thumbnail. It's like Alex is in a jazz cover band.
Kyle's just talking shit. Like classic Kyle.
Kyle is actually coming to Vancouver. I'm not going to say too much, but he's going to come to Vancouver soon, eventually, and I'm hoping to see him and beat him up for all you guys, because he always just comes in here. No, I'm just saying. It'll be cool to hang out. Yeah. I love Kyle. He's an acquired taste, but once you get him,
aren't we all?
The best. We sure are.
We're all acquired taste for sure.
Yeah.
I love you, Kyle.
Kyle loves Dandelion Dynasty, so it's all right. I forget.
He was probably the biggest.
He's okay by you.
Yeah.
He was like the biggest Dandelion pusher, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think.
Oh yeah.
Out of the people who have already had read it before I reread it, I mean, there wasn't a ton.
You know what I love about
Kyle?
Kyle? This stream is not about Kyle, but I'll give him 2 minutes.
Go for it.
What I love about Kyle is he gets so enthusiastic and so passionate about stuff, and he's known to stir the pot, and it's fun. We all need people like that. But when he loves something, like, it's infectious, and all he wants to do is talk about it, and he just wants other people to read it, and he wants to talk to everyone and anyone about it, and I just love that. And that's what, dare I say, he embodies the whole community of BookTube. That's what it's all about.
I agree.
So Kyle really is the BookTube god. and
Thea,
RJ's
did you see
Jeopardy God.
Kyle's Legend review on Goodreads?
I haven't.
I think I read part of it. I think I read part of it, but no, I think I saw him talk about it in the Discord. Yeah.
Did he like it or not?
I was in
Goodreads one.
Oh, he loved it. He was like, if
Okay.
I
he
was in
loved
a
it.
siege,
Yeah.
I would be a little bitch, but I wouldn't be if Druss was with me. I was like, what?
We all need.
That's
we all need Druss.
basically the story in a nutshell, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Legend was dope.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Yeah.
I love how like a pocket of us read it all at the same time without actually meaning
I
to.
know. How did that
I know.
happen? You
That
and I
was
figured out, and then a
very-
bunch of other people. Yeah.
Kay read it, and apparently Kyle read it. So
Yeah. Alex and I
it was
kind of
good.
overlapped, and we're like, yeah, let's
I
do
read
it.
it.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, the readathon was like one of the prompts or the bonus points was 20th century. So I was like, what could I read that's going to fit that? And Legend's been
Why
on
not?
my
yeah.
TBR for so long that I was just like, yeah, I might as well knock it off.
RJ, have you
So
read
glad
it?
I did too.
No, I haven't read it.
RJ
He
would
wants to.
love it.
It's so good.
I know.
Yeah, he would love
I
it.
know. They
It's
put
an
they put in the
RJ
group
book.
chat. Yeah, you said it was such an RJ book. I'm like, what is an RJ
dude.
book though? I don't even know what an RJ book is.
You'll know.
When you read
It's
it,
just
you'll
so,
find
like-
out. Yeah, Ray.
I was gonna
Phobo.
say
Yeah.
that's why we have BookTube friends, because I have people tell me
Mhm.
that all the time. Like, oh, you got to read this. This is such a you book, and I'm like, all right.
You know what's cool
Yeah.
is when people get to know you and your taste enough to start really recommending stuff.
Yep.
That's awesome. Like I love that. Yeah. Because then
Yeah.
they just get you, and you're like,
Yeah.
sweet. Now I'm like in, and people know what I like. Right. That's awesome.
Yeah,
Now I'm accepted.
Now I'm accepted.
Anitha.
Yeah,
Oompa Loompas,
yeah.
I don't have any. I didn't use Oompa Loompas.
Did
I
you have
used I had a
little
rat.
rats,
He's
you
called
said.
and he's
A
called
team of
Terry,
mice.
and he helped
It's
me
like Ratatouille.
do the
RJ
buzzer.
had a hat on
Yeah.
and he had little mice coming out of his sleeves. Hitting them. They were so quick on the buzzer.
Mhm.
Props.
Yeah. Like literally, like as soon as I heard the question, like my finger was on the thing, and like immediately you're
Insane.
on. I feel like it's
Insane.
because you're ahead in Ireland that there must be a couple second. Like I think he's actually in the future.
The buzzer was in the future
Logistically,
too. Yeah.
The buzzer was in the
I
future,
think-
and that's the only. How else do
I
we
think it's
explain
Sunday
it?
night
Is RJ
for
smarter than us? No. Is he better looking than Alex? No. So what happened? What happened? You know what I mean? It's very
He's
frustrating.
in the future.
It's Theo's conspiracy theories.
I was ready to
second
send the
channel.
link to everyone to show them how I won Jeopardy. I was going to send it to my mom, and I got destroyed by this Irish guy. So now I have to hide it, like I was never on Jeopardy. So
We
it
gotta
is what
send
it
it
is.
into,
There
like,
must be an
Mythbusters.
investigation. Exactly.
Theo needs a tinfoil hat right now.
Yeah. Salty salt and pepper over here. That's for sure.
Yeah. Hey, Shad, Caitlin, Craig.
But we had fun. That was the whole point. So
He was
I lost on
also
purpose
excited.
actually to make everyone have fun and feel good and stuff. So
There you go. Zen has a theory here.
That's what we were
I
saying.
Yes.
had one shot of
It's Irish
Zambica.
blood.
I wasn't drinking
but you're-
during the stream. I wasn't
You're
drinking
Irish
during the
blood.
stream.
bullet time. Yeah, I think that's what
Bullet
happened.
time.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
I don't know. I listened to some of Jeopardy that day, and I was trying to get down like the cadence of his voice, so like I would
So you
know
could
when
time
he's
it.
about to stop, so I
Yeah.
could time it and get it,
It is.
and it just
It's
worked.
tough to know when he's going to be finished reading the question.
Done the
because there was
question.
one
I
time
know.
where I hit the button and he was still.
Yeah.
reading.
That
I
happened
was
to me
like,
once
They do
too,
this
and he had
thing,
more.
right?
Has been asked. Yeah. I was just like,
Yeah.
dude, this question.
I know all the Look, do you know how many Canadian subscribers I lost that day? Half
Yeah.
my channel
You lost
gone.
all of
Poof. Yeah.
If you go to if you,
Sorry-
if you
sorry,
showed
guys,
you
eh?
his- if you showed you his analytics, it's like 0% Canadian now. Like it's
Yeah, exactly.
terrible.
Yeah.
It's just
All of his
old
local
ladies
subscribers
and just
just
random dudes from the Midwest. That's it. Yeah. Those old ladies are good though. Yeah.
Yeah, I was rooting for you, Alex, because I was like, somebody's got to represent the overly tall Americans in this.
I know.
So
I I was kind of I actually wasn't confident going into the game. I don't think any of us were, but like after the first round, I was like, I could come back. I feel like we were all feeling that, and then RJ just was like,
no,
no.
You guys had your fun.
Yeah, he turned it up, and he was like, "Yeah, now I'm gonna play."
You lost.
I know, Shad. It was nice knowing you, man. I appreciate you, bro. We had a good time. We had a good run. Yeah, we were mad about it. Yeah, super mad about it. Yeah, I'm a little offended, but also I can't help but laugh.
Where was I? Oh,
like, yeah. Not you.
Careful.
Not you, Leslie.
Careful.
Yeah. I think I'm closer in age to you, Leslie, than I am to these guys. So listen, I get it.
We're not that old, honestly.
I'm going to change my name to Rekindled Grandpa at some point. It's like 9 months away, 10 months away. 9 months? Why did I choose that? Nothing is happening in 9 months, I promise. Nothing yet.
The Rekindled reader.
Yeah, yeah. What's up, Leslie? Good to see you.
Part of his life.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious though, like, so we've all been on BookTube for a little while now. You guys have been, because Theo and Alex, you've been on for, Theo, have you been on a year? Yeah, you've been on a year.
It's exactly a year. Actually, mine was April 9th was a year.
Okay.
And Alex,
awesome.
I think
Congrats.
you're like around a week away. Yeah.
I was like, April 11th was my first video.
Yeah.
So.
Do you think that's why we started seeing each other's videos? Like, why was it? Why did we all of a sudden see each other? What happened?
I don't know.
How did you meet?
Well, you were like,
What's
you
the
were
story?
one of the other channels that had definitely started right around me.
Yeah.
And I think I tagged,
Yeah.
there was a tag. One of the first tag I did, I think I tagged you.
And you were like, this guy
just 'cause I
doesn't
was looking
know what's
for
happening and has no friends. So let me just.
I was like,
let me just
I like
see.
this dude's video. This guy's video quality is insane. Literally, and I was just like, I'm gonna ask him, be like, hey, dude, I'm tagging you. You don't have to do it, but you can.
I think it was you that reached out to me. Yeah. So if anyone's curious, Alex wanted to be my friend. I know he's super famous now, but originally he wanted to be my friend, and now I'm just kind of tagging along. So yeah.
Oh, Kyle has.
Still want to be your friend.
I know you did it first, Kyle.
That's true. We did do that. That was also kind of a chaotic stream.
That's also true.
Class of 22 stream.
Even though I'm not class of 2022.
Yeah.
Like, I was on it. I don't know why.
You made your way into it. You stuck your way in.
Yeah.
You're like, hey, I'm here. Why not?
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Because nobody had heard of me until 2022. So maybe I'm class of 2022. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, same though. And I was on for a lot longer. Yeah. It is kind of embarrassing when I look around at like the rest of the class of 2020 and I'm like, I'll get there someday, guys. I'm getting there.
I think it's
just... Yeah. Well, and the 10-month break definitely didn't help.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask though, like, where do you guys? You've got some time under your belts now for the BookTube thing. Where do you see this being a long-term thing? What are you excited about as your channels are growing and getting bigger and moving forward, and you're trying new things? Like, what are you most excited about?
Yeah, I only did this to get rich, so I'm like, I feel like I'm like a year away from just retiring.
For sure.
It's taking a while. Patreon's growing. Discord's blown up. We're gonna probably monetize that at some point and make charge people subscriptions. Honestly,
I want to spend $1 million per video.
Yeah,
return's gonna be huge.
Yeah, I don't know. What was the question? What do we expect to happen? I'm a little bit drunk.
What do you?
Sorry. There was a point.
Well, I was going to ask you, like, what are you excited about in the future of your channel? I'm trying to ask you
honestly
questions,
at this point, I think we all agree too, because I chat with the boys all the time, and I think that this is kind of what ended up being like the fun part of it. Like when we we read stuff and it's cool, but then when we get to chat and talk and be part of the community and engage and in the comments and the discords and all that stuff, like that's what's fun. So like the BookTube has kind of become like an ancillary thing. Like it's kind of like this is the meat and potatoes of it, and then like the channel is kind of like, okay, like let's like document some stuff as we go for posterity,
right?
Yeah. Let me throw a review out there once in a while. So
get like 10 views.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I know.
This is the fun part.
Yeah,
I definitely agree with Theo on the community side of it. I think the second that we started the Grimoire, because it kind of came out of nowhere.
Nowhere.
We were talking about it.
Yeah.
Literally within 24 hours of Baron messaging me about like, hey, do you guys want to take over my Discord? And like, we can all create a joint Discord. And, you know, Theo and RJ and me all got looped in, and it became a thing within under a day.
Yeah.
And it just instantly became something that we really enjoyed. And I think that was just something that I was looking for. I think one of the big reasons I started a channel was for that like community side of thing, because I was, you know, active in the community, but I wanted more of it. So I wanted to do live streams. I wanted to like do read-alongs and like talk to people about books. And so that's like all the stuff I was looking forward to in BookTube. So like that's probably some of my favorite parts now. I think when it comes to a long-term thing, it did take me a while to kind of figure out for my own personal self how much time and how to juggle certain things. And it's something that I'm still constantly working on. I would always love to put out more. I'd always love to record more. But, you know, I kind of do as much as I can do at any given time. And if I have more availability to put out more, I will, because I have a bunch of ideas that are just sitting. And I need to. But it's just, you know, I think it's a great community. It's something that I really enjoy doing. And I feel like as long as I am enjoying doing it and enjoying the community, and like these guys are awesome and everyone that we talk to is awesome. So I think because of that, it's something that has become a really like a surprising but rewarding part of my life that I didn't really see being as big as it has become.
Right.
Alex, you complete me.
I love it.
I think I'm getting a cavity over here.
Yeah. I'm an only child. They're my brothers now.
I mean, what's one of the perks about being an only child is I can just adopt whoever I want. It's great.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
It's true.
Family. Too bad. Stuck.
Vin Diesel.
Yeah.
How about you, RJ?
I kind of just started this for the hell of it. I didn't know what I was really going to do. I just woke up one day and I'm just like, screw it, I'll do a video. Like, I was getting into the community at that time as well. I had known Baron. Like, I got involved in Jimmy's Discord, so I was getting to know people, and then I was like, screw it, I'll film a video. And then it just kept on going from there. Everyone said they really liked my voice and my accent, so
you should do ASMR.
You know, that's what I'm not doing ASMR, Alex. Stop telling me to do ASMR. I'm not doing it.
You just got to read Robin Hobb quotes in ASMR.
I'm not reading Robin Hobb quotes in ASMR.
I mean, you could always do audiobook narration, though.
No, I don't have voices. I can't do voices. Like, I just have this voice, and that's it. I don't have any other voices. But I just started this for the hell of it, and then I fell in with how did I meet Alex? I think Alex also, I just seen Kyle's comment, like you randomly DM'd. Yeah, you DM'd me about Dandelion and said we should do a stream for Wall of Storms. And then I
think I just finished Grace of Kings. And I was like, dude, you're reading Wall of Storms. I messaged you. I was like, let's talk Wall of Storms. Because I was just like I was saying, I was looking for people to talk about books with. And kind of the books that I wasn't going to pick up on my own if I wasn't starting a channel. I don't know. There are just some books out there that I feel like I not necessarily would have picked up if it wasn't for a community of people 100%. Being like, you would like
that's one of the cool things about this is we get to read stuff that like I mean I dropped out of that one, so I can't really say, but I wouldn't have even DNF'd that had I not been I'm gonna get
I would have had the opportunity to DNF it.
Yeah, exactly. Don't you know, like we all get in the mood to read things. Like Alex, you and I have been talking about historical fiction for a while. We're going to read some next month. Like you just get in the mood for stuff sometimes, and sometimes you're like, oh man, I know I'm going to love that, just not in the mood. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yep.
It happens.
It does. So for historical fiction, what you guys like? Because I know RJ, I was watching some of your earlier videos earlier today too, and you talked about historical fiction a little bit. So what are some? Yeah, yep, I went there.
Oh no.
Early RJ.
I got some
Early
tea.
RJ videos are the worst. Filmed on a shitty phone.
That
They were
book.
Hey, you
terrible.
have that Royal Assassin video? That Royal Assassin video you did all the way back is
He did wasn't it a reaction video, that one, to the ending?
No,
Is
he
that
was
the one?
No,
was-
I was just
he was
I
reading.
was going over the events of
Right.
of
Yeah,
the
you were
ending of
going
Royal
over the events
Assassin.
of the end
Yeah.
of Royal Assassin, which is
Okay.
an awesome
Right,
movie,
right.
But
Yeah.
Yeah, good times. Good times.
I did. I did message Kyle. Well, Kyle was the Dandelion Dynasty guy. No one else had read it, and I was like, I need to talk to someone about this series.
Yeah.
It's true, Matt. Caitlin wants
Legend
Yeah.
review coming out this
Oh,
weekend, I promise.
Legend.
Yeah,
Hey.
you
And
do
you know
have a
what?
ledger review
Don't-
coming up.
You know what's sad? Is reviews don't do very well. And
Which is
and it's not
awful.
about it's awful, and it's not about
I was gonna
like
talk about this too.
getting money
Yeah.
for a video and getting views. Like I don't care if a video gets like 50 views, but like it's interesting that like my book haul will get X amount of views, and then a review about a book that I adore and I feel like more people should read don't get. And I feel like maybe people are worried, even if you say spoiler free, maybe they don't want to
Right.
know anything about it, or they want to read it first, then watch a review, or they're not interested in that book at all. So it is kind of disheartening. And Mike talks about this too, because he has book reviews in the title. It's kind of how we started doing stuff. And now we get so many views on other videos where the reviews really kind of fall behind. So it's interesting. So it's not like a
think it's kinda
demotivating
like a-
thing, but it's
Yeah.
weird. I pick and choose the reviews that I really want to do, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
That's
weird.
definitely
I
something
thought I'd be doing
I've-
more.
It's something I've tried to kind of figure out some type of system, because when I first started the channel, I was doing, I felt pressure to do it, not pressured in a bad way, just like I wanted to do reviews of everything I was reading, which is difficult.
Yeah.
And I'm very picky
Unless you're
about how I
Durfee,
do
apparently.
reviews. Yeah, exactly. Like I'm very picky
Somehow.
about how I go like set up my reviews and stuff. So it was taking way too much time. And so I was just like, okay, I'm gonna start picking and choosing what books I want to talk about. And then
So that's the other thing. Reviews
even
take
then,
a lot of time.
now it's like,
as well.
yeah, they take for me, they
to
take
do
way
them
more
right.
time
Yeah,
than a tag video or something that's
totally.
a lot of fun, but it doesn't take as much time as something like a review or something like that. But sometimes it does depend on the book. Like some books just naturally will take long for me to even process what I think about them.
Yes.
yeah.
Even if I know I love it, I'm like, oh, I love this book, but it takes me a little bit to actually figure out what I want to say about it.
Yeah.
That's coherent.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the benefits of one of the pros and cons, I think, of doing vlogs, which I actually like doing, because then I can kind of, it's like a review, but people can read it along with me, and most of them have already read it. But you're only getting my gut reaction. And the downside of that is that, 2 weeks or 2 months from now, I may have had a chance to percolate on it and maybe change some opinions. And so I have
It's
people
amazing
coming
how
back,
things can change. Yeah.
right? And I have people coming back
Crazy.
to my vlogs
All
from
the time.
2 years ago, and they're like, do you actually think that? And I'm like, well, it's been 2 years.
In that moment, sure. Yeah.
Yes and no. So
Yeah, I've started to wait a little bit longer to do
gonna dye
reviews.
my
There is like a
beard
fine line
gray.
for me. I can only wait so long. If I wait too long to do a review, I just won't end up doing a review for a book, because it just
Dude, I forget what I had for lunch today. Like if I don't do a review immediately, like I need to take notes.
Like, it has to
Like, there's
be
no-
relatively soon.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Like no way I'm going to review a book I read in September. It just maybe I could, but it wouldn't be good.
It wouldn't be as
Yeah.
the review people deserve.
I wouldn't have fun doing
I
it,
agree.
which is different than, I don't know. I like doing videos I enjoy filming,
Yeah.
because I don't want it to
Yeah.
feel like a chore.
well, and the hard part when people get, oh, I want a spoiler-free review. I want a spoiler-free review. I totally get that. However, I think some people get really touchy about even us sharing thoughts and opinions about basic things,
my
even in
gosh.
the first part of the book. And it's hard because I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't want to do a review if I'm literally just telling you what's on the back of the book. Like you can go read
Right.
that on Goodreads.
Even that's
and
spoilery for some people.
right. So
I
it's
was
like,
gonna
It's
frame
really just it's It's just your feeling about the book, basically.
Yeah. My most viewed review is my review for Fairy Tale by Stephen King. And it's spoiler free.
Yeah.
The only thing
That has
I
like 8 or
spoil about
9,000
it
views or something. Yeah.
is literally what is on the inside cover of the book, which like does spoil something that happens 150 pages into the book. But like, if you've ever read Stephen King, he always spoils his stuff. So like, me giving that in the spoiler free review, I must have gotten 10 comments saying this is not spoiler free, and I'm like,
It's
swear to God,
bro.
Yeah.
If you don't want to know what this book is about, don't watch this review until
Well, what about like Brandon
Like,
Sanderson with the
spoiler-free as I
Secret
can make it.
Projects? They were saying there was some
like-
beef, and people were saying like the titles now coming out are spoilery, and like we shouldn't say the title. Like, I don't know, man.
Like-
I to me, like, they're spoilers, and then
I feel
they're
like-
not really spoilers. So everyone's different.
If you're that, if you're that
Then you
invested
can't
that you're
watch.
gonna,
You can't look at anything.
then you just need to read the book like as soon as possible.
Right. Right.
I don't know what to say. Like,
Just live under a rock. Just no internet, no nothing. Just I will give you the book in a blank cover, and there you go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and there's a
Unspoiled
difference between me saying something that happens like mid to late, during the book versus me saying there is insta-love in this book.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
that's not a spoiler, really. If you're watching
Yeah.
a review of somebody who's read it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah. That's why
I'm
doing,
careful when I. Sorry, Alex. Go ahead.
You go. I was gonna say I like doing like spoiler discussions outside of reviews.
Yeah.
Because then I
Then you're
feel like
open.
in those type of situations I can kind of just talk about stuff that pops into my head and
Yeah.
stuff that I want to say that is just like kind of no filter
Yeah.
when it comes to spoilers.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, like, in the context of keeping things spoiler free, and everyone has a bit of a different definition, like I'm even careful when I allude to relationships being, like you mentioned, insta love, and I would say that falls under the category of like maybe like a specific trope. But when you're talking about like, oh, there's relationships and like this happens, and like, like I'm careful to not insinuate like who's in the relationship, and if it's a protagonist that isn't a relationship or a love triangle. Like I'm careful with like how I approach that. So it's tough though. Sometimes you're like, well, clearly these two people are the friends or the relationship or the whatever, but it's tough to tiptoe around that, but whatever.
Well, and like saying, like, for example, with Legend, saying, there's battles and drusses involved is not a spoiler. Like, I mean,
No.
like, and I think
It's literally the plot.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, reviews are tough. And I've kind of just gotten to the point, I feel like when you've been on BookTube long enough, you just kind of get to a point where it's not that you don't care, but you're just like, I'm going to just say this. Somebody's going to be unhappy with it, but somebody's always going to be, upset about something. So
Yeah. Can't please everybody.
no.
Yeah.
I think
we had a, go ahead,
it's
Alex.
gonna be. Oh, I was gonna say, you just gotta be. I don't know. As a content creator, if you enjoy talking about what you're talking about, I think that's half the battle. And because I feel like people who are watching your video can tell if you are enjoying making the video you're making or not. So
yeah. There were a few questions in the comments that I wanted to make sure I got to. Fantasy Awash wants to know what, and this was a question I was going to ask you guys actually, because all three of you have mentioned historical fiction. So I'm curious, what are you excited about reading if you're going to read some this next month or year? I have that too.
Yeah.
I'm reading.
I can't wait.
I'm reading Gates of Fire with Theo. I think RJ, are you
And
reading
Kevin?
it?
I'm reading it.
Kevin's reading it.
I'm reading it as well.
I'm so excited for it. Yeah,
Me too.
I've wanted to read for a while.
People rave about this book as a
I
as
know.
a standalone historical fiction about like the best race of people. Good times.
I've been I know Warlord is historical fiction, but it's also kind of Merlin legend, Arthur legend at the same time. So, I definitely want to get that. I do want to read the rest of the Ken Follett, like Pillars of the Earth books, but they're so long, and there's a new one coming out this year that I genuinely don't know how I'd be able to fit them in. But I would love to read them sometime. And Tori, you and I just read Shogun. I would love to read all those books, but they're also
Yeah.
long too.
It's
just
a
like-
lot. Yeah.
Books are massive.
Yeah, I felt really bad because I opened Taipan a couple nights ago just to like, okay, let me see if I can, if this, if I'm excited about this and I want to keep going, then great.
Yeah.
And I opened it up and my brain was like, not right now.
I do that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I'll literally just go through like what's on my Kindle and be like, what sounds good based on a couple paragraphs right now, and then I'll just read whatever sounds good.
How about you, RJ?
I heard about this one recently. I think it was from the Brothers Gwyn. I think it was Ed talking about this one. There's one called The Panther in the Sky.
Yeah, I saw that.
James Alexander Tom. That looks so good.
What is that called? Panther in the Sky.
Panther in the Sky.
Okay.
It sounds amazing. There's so many series I want to read. Like I want to read like Matthew Harvey, like Wolf of Wessex, and
that looks good. Eagleton stuff I want to read too.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah,
the Brothers Gwyn have so many awesome historical fiction recs.
Yeah, they do.
Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
The first Genghis Khan book it's the Conqueror series. I can never remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's so good.
Yeah,
that was one of my 5-star reads last year. Yeah, nice. I knew it was going to be Anitha. I knew it was going to be Anitha.
Yeah.
Test pilot.
Our list brings up Wolf Hall, and that was on one of my 2023. That's a book I definitely want to read this year. Probably going to be summer or fall, but Sister, they all read that.
Yeah, so I
sounds like they loved the first
jump.
two.
Yeah, I tried to jump on that read along with Alan, and I didn't quite get to it in time, but I bought this beautiful edition that has this omnibus, and I really want to read it. So I don't know when. I got into a bit of a historical fiction kick kind of end of last year, and now I'm starting to get that itch again. So I think it'll come in waves. So I'll probably blast through a couple. Yeah.
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 I mean, it sounds really good.
Yeah. I was just reading, I think it was Will or Ed's review, and they were saying they were in tears, and I'm like, oh God.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
It gets high ratings.
Fine, I'll read
it.
Yeah. Right. If I have to.
If you're forcing me, I'll read it. God.
An emotional book. Sign me up.
Yeah.
Aziz, hey.
What's up, man?
I like when people say books are emotional, because I'm like, let me see. I want to see.
Alex, Alex
know what you're talking about.
So do you guys, I mean, let's just go right into that. Do you guys get emotional when you read your books?
I'm crying right now.
It's a good book.
Can you tell?
Oh, I can. No. I think it's the alcohol though.
yeah. I'm puffy and red because I'm hammered right now. Whatever, it's fine. I get more emotional with books than I do with movies. It turns out. I didn't know that about myself, but yeah.
Interesting.
I think weird. What about you guys? I get more emotional than I would think.
I definitely get really emotionally invested. Crying is a different thing, and I know like Kyle and Jordan especially will rag on me for never crying, but like I don't know, I've just never really. It's not frequent. I'll find myself very emotional in books, but it's hard for me to pass the point where I'm like actually tearing up and stuff. The only book in the last while that's done it was Assassin's Fate, but I think that was more just because it's like 16 books of a series, and I was like, wow, it's over. Holy shit.
It was a cathartic, like you've done all of it, and you're like, wow.
Literally. And it's just like crazy.
Yeah, I get emotional like at the end of series, like some series, like I get like I'm either like I'm fine, or I don't come into my room, I don't want to see people for the next couple hours because I'm just an emotional wreck. Like the end of Faithful and the Fallen did that. The end of Tawny Man did that. The end of Dandelion Dynasty did that.
Wow. End of Dandelion.
Yeah.
The end of Greenbone. The end of Greenbone was really emotional for me, and THEO, I'm so excited.
Really?
To get through
I didn't
more
cry,
than
but it's
into
like Jade War.
If you're a crier, you'll probably.
If you're a baby like me, I'll cry.
Yeah, you're weak.
Alex is like, I don't have this problem, but if you're a crier.
yeah.
Oh, but I mean,
we all suffer differently.
Matt talks about that too, that he gets really emotionally invested in books, but doesn't, usually cry and that kind of stuff too. It takes a lot for me too, to be honest. Like, it really depends on the book. I read a lot of really heavy hitting memoirs, and so those will usually do it. But for fantasy, it takes, it definitely takes a pretty emotionally impactful scene to get me.
Yeah.
It's also like, I feel like there's some circumstances of how I'm reading it at a specific time that would affect it, like my environment as well. Like if I'm alone at home reading a book and it's like very emotional, my reaction could be totally different than if I'm like reading it, waiting for my car to get an oil change or something like
that. That's a good point, Alex. That's a good point. Like, I don't cry on the train to work. Like I probably wouldn't, but if I'm chopping onions and listening to an audiobook at the same time, in my kitchen,
sure,
like it might happen. Yeah, it might happen.
It's like,
oh man,
you're not even you don't even need the onions. You're just bringing them out to
to make me feel better. Yeah,
decoy.
Who knows what made me cry? We'll never know. Yeah.
I'm actually trying to even think what the last book was that. Oh, Spirits of Vengeance by Rob Hayes made me cry. I got really teared up.
Did it really?
Yeah, it did. Yep.
Wow.
But
no.
For a very specific reason, there were some Easter egg things that happened that I was like, because it's characters that
From Never Die.
So I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh
Theo.
no! Don't spoil things, Tori. See, that was a trick.
I'm not.
That was a
right.
Good.
I'm a professional
RJ, have you read Never
bookkeeper.
RJ, have you read Never Die?
Never Die? No, I haven't read it.
Dude,
good times.
Come on.
Watch
RJ, what do you read? We'll add it to our
watch
list.
Dan's review, the Black and Blue
It's
Colored
so
Reader.
good.
Very
So
good
good.
review.
Oh, I like that.
Dan did a great job.
He tweeted today. I think he's either finishing or currently reading Jade Legacy or Jade City. And he's just like, I love this book. I was like, yeah. He was just like, I've never experienced a world that is as well put together as this one. And I was like, dude, yes, I need to see a video. Show me your passion.
Yeah.
He does great.
He's the perfect person to review the Jade, like the Greenbone saga, because he's just like, he's got that way, and it's like urban gritty fantasy with like mafia stuff. Like I just want to see what he's gonna come up with for that. You know what I mean?
Well, he's on my readathon team, so let me see if it's in the spreadsheet yet.
Nice.
Jade City, yes, he is finished.
Nice.
Yep. So, not that I would know that, but
Are you guys leading? Are you guys leading right now? Did I catch the last?
Heck yeah.
I caught the last bit of that stream.
I'm sure we are. I feel like
we were winning, and then now you guys are
if
winning.
we weren't.
Because which team are you on?
Golden Bards. With K.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we were winning last time. No.
Spelunkers have been leading it since.
Would you have
Oh.
Do you have an all? Theo, did you cause your team the lead?
I was gonna say Theo's not even paying attention here.
I'm the
Theo's
reason why we're losing. So
it's like I just watched
we have
TV
negative
all
points.
week. How dare you?
Yeah.
So
First, I have to
should-
learn how to read.
I should kick Theo off because he's the only non-beanie barbarian in this chat.
It's true, and I was sort of afraid of coming on, to be honest, because I'm like, well, how is
fair.
this gonna?
Yeah, that's
Do
fair.
I pretend like I'm on your team, or you'll wonder where my books went? Like, so it is what it is.
Let's see.
Kayla is nicer to me than all you guys, I will say. So.
I want to talk about this. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, so my channel was kind of got its start because I read nothing but Sanderson in 2020 and 2021. And my vlogs reading Stormlight Archive are still my most viewed videos by far. I think my
Really?
Oh yeah, my Way of Kings vlog has 15,000 views. Like it's nuts.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's funny because if I did nothing but talk about Sanderson, I'm sure that my channel would be way ahead of where it is right now. And I'm like, I just feel like he was such a great gateway. He was so good.
I agree.
And I will recommend him to like so many people. but I'm at a point now where I'm like really trying to spread out as far as I can and read as many things as I can in the genre, because there's so many different, and I'm also getting a much more of a taste for what my favorite books are typically. But yeah, it's absolutely true. The Sanderson reviews, they do very well.
I know one of Jimmy's best reviews is his Way of Kings review.
So it's interesting because if I saw someone doing like around the time when I'm planning to pick up Way of Kings, because I haven't yet, to be honest.
I haven't either.
I would probably seek that out because it's a big book. It's a commitment to a series. The book is fat. The series is long.
Oh, I'm absolutely doing it.
You know, like I think I would want, that's a book that I'd want to read with other people or watch people read or get motivated by their enthusiasm by it, right? So I can see that. I can see that.
Well, and I was very animated because it was cool because I was new into epic fantasy when I read them. So I'm like, it's funny to go back and read them now or watch them now because there's a lot of enthusiasm, and I was really like, I got really emotional. And at one point in, I think it was Words of Radiance, I went and made myself like a sandwich because I was so anxious about a certain part in it. And it's like midnight and I'm like, guys, I need an anxiety sandwich. It's fine. So it was fun. And that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do a vlog that was one of the reasons why I wanted to do the Blade itself as a vlog. Cause I was like, you know, I do miss having that, like, as I read video experience. So, anybody says Sun Eater and Zin will appear.
Sure, he was on all of our streams. It was awesome.
Yeah, I have all of the books sitting right next to me right now, so they're kind of like glaring at me.
Mine are right up there. Yeah,
I'm excited to read them.
It's so good. You'll like it.
Yeah,
I think.
Oh, look who's in the chat.
What's up?
He said, "Have we talked about Jeopardy?" Alan,
you got to go back.
We glossed over it.
We've talked about your inside deal with RJ for him to win. We get it.
It was a minor part of all of our booktube careers, so we just kind of skimmed by it. But yeah, it was fun. I guess, whatever.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think
Stormlight read along.
Yeah, that would be.
I'm
definitely going to keep tabs on that and watch you guys read it because I'll be very curious.
I need
Words
to do
of
that
Radiance is my favorite.
That's what
I hear that a lot.
I know it's Kyle's.
I hear that a lot.
It's very good.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. If you liked it, if you read the first 3 Dune books, I would assume that you liked it.
You know what's nice about Sun Eater is it's like it kind of eases you into it, and it falls
for sure.
Like the first book
is
people actually familiar. It's familiar, and it sort of gets criticized for being a little slow. Like maybe not as much happens because you think you're going into this intergalactic giant space opera, but like it kind of takes you there over time, and Rockio kind of grows with you, and you get interested into the world, and then the characters kind of evolve, and then you jump forward in time like tens of thousands of years, and you sort of evolve with the series. So I think it's actually very good for that. Technically,
spoilers,
in terms
Theo.
of prose, well, whatever. Yeah. I mean, it's a series. But in terms of prose and stuff, like it's very technical. So like if you like that, you'll still be eased into the story. You can just appreciate the like writing for what it is too. So
I think
it's very good.
I think that's why Empire Science is really good for that, because a lot of people, it'll feel familiar to a lot of people, especially if you're a fantasy reader. But then you get into Howling Dark, and that's why I always want to encourage people who have read the first book to try Howling Dark, because I think Howling Dark is significantly different. And I think once you get halfway into
it
Howling
signals
Dark,
a little
like
bit more about what you can expect.
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. The series absolutely trends more to where
don't
Howling
judge
Dark
it on the
goes
one
than
first book.
Empire Silence.
Yeah. I don't think you should ever do that unless you hate something, right? But
yeah, I actually can't name I'm trying to. I don't know if there's a series that I've read that like the first book kind of projects entirely where the series is, encapsulates what the series is.
Lies of Loch Lamora.
That's true, but I've only read the first one.
Me too.
Alex.
We loved it.
I loved it. Oh, I did love it. But everyone's like, "Oh, just the third one sucks." So I'm like, "Don't tell me that."
Have you read those, RJ?
I've read the first one. I've read Lies a lot more. And
He wasn't like blown away by it, right? You didn't like.
No.
Yeah.
It was fine.
I will say
I liked it, but it was okay.
I think it was a timing thing for me because I've tried it before. Same thing with Way of Kings. Like I've tried Way of Kings and I've tried Lies, and both times I just kind of put him down. Lies, I only got like 100 pages into it before. Way of Kings, I got 500 pages into it, and I was like, no, I'm gonna read something else. But
that's impressive that you stopped at 500 pages.
Yeah.
I'd be like,
I just felt like nothing. I was just like not. Yeah. I think there was just it was a few years ago, and I like wasn't really in the fantasy mood, and I kind of just picked it up because everyone was talking about it, and I was like, I just need to check it out. But I just kept reading on, and I was like, it's not really what I want to read right now. But I feel like I'm much more excited to get to Way of Kings now than I was when I first tried it. And Lies is the same way. Like I loved it this time around because I was just so excited to finally read it. Where the first time was kind of like, oh, I'll try this book everyone talks about.
Well, and some people, Scott Lynch is an auto-buy author for me. Like if and when that fourth book comes out, I'm like dropping absolutely everything to read it. A lot of people give Red Seas kind of a bad rap. It seems like it's getting a lot more positive attention now that people are starting to pick it up kind of in this era. Yeah. But like when I read it like a year and a half, 2 years ago, people were like, and I'm like, it's a good book. I don't know.
I remember hearing that too. And I think that's what put me off of it. I'm like, well, I don't want to read it if like the second book doesn't quite live up to it. So I put it off. I wish I didn't, but
yeah.
I've heard that a lot of people have read it recently have said like Seas is almost, I know Ben from Genghis Khan liked Red Seas and the Red Sky significantly more than the first one. And I know Jordan,
he and I align.
Jordan likes the second one the most.
Yeah.
Huh.
And Kyle likes the first one, but
the first one's still my favorite, but I do love the second one.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I love how when Alan was asked who was the worst at Jeopardy, he just nonchalantly just says THEO. Like, no, he just THEO. Cool.
Well, you did come
Thanks,
last,
man.
so
he's also honest, I guess. Whatever. It was rigged. We went over this anyway.
Stand-up quality.
I agree with Steve's thought on the third one too. I think it's not my favorite of the three, but there's still good stuff in it. So
nice.
Yeah. I've heard like the flashbacks in it are really good. I don't know. I've never read it, but that's what I've heard is good about it.
Yeah, my biggest issue
because you were a dog.
What?
I have been praising Alan all over BookTube, and Jeopardy. I have not been portrayed well. No. Also, I thought this was saying One Old Greek, and I was like, that's the perfect channel name. I'm gonna switch into that actually.
Grandpa Greek.
How much do you want?
Rekindled Grandpa's done. Yeah. One Old Greek that can read books. Yeah.
This is a tough question because I think I will recommend different Sanderson books depending on what you've already read and what you like. Because if you've already read a ton of really like heavy duty fantasy series, Stormlight might be a lighter read for you, honestly. I don't know. It really depends on what you've read and what you like, in my opinion. That would be Black Forest Ham, Joe. So let me see. I'm trying to make sure I think I've caught up now.
Nice.
Yeah. I think what series are you like? Because you're kind of talking about a few, but what is a series that you guys are super intimidated by that you haven't picked up yet? That's like just kind of staring you in the face that you're like, I want to read it. I probably will love it, but it's either a really big series or the hype or whatever.
Good question.
RJ was chuckling, so one.
Yeah, RJ probably has one. Yeah. Oh,
I don't know.
Of course, Malazan. Yeah, 100. For me, it's been Malazan. I'm sort of kicking myself because reading it with a big group of people as a read along with my friends, like that'd be the right way, I think, to do it. I also don't want to get stuck where I'm like the guy that like doesn't like it or wants to fall off, and I don't want to. I'm going to sample it solo. and see kind of how that works. For me, yeah, Malazan's been in the background, but for me, it's been Dark Tower. And I'm not so much intimidated by the fact that I know I'll probably enjoy it. I'm getting more into Stephen King, and I know that I like him as an author, but it's a commitment. It's longer, and I want to make sure. Yeah. Otherwise, yeah, friends off.
You better.
But I want to make sure
I read the right
openings
for Grimoire owners.
Yeah, sorry. I'm surprised there hasn't been already, but I want to read the right things at the right time to like make Dark Tower like the best it can be. And I think I'm overthinking it. A lot of people are like, no, dude, like just read Dark Tower. There's 1 or 2 books that you could probably read before, but I think next year I'm going to read Dark Tower. But for some reason, to date, I haven't. I don't know. I read part of the Gunslinger. I read like half of it, and I was like, "This is weird." Like, I know. Don't judge it by the Gunslinger. Yeah,
definitely not. Honestly, give it. I think if you're 3 books in, and they're not like super long, like the first 3 are not super long at all. So
okay, cool.
I think if you're, even halfway through the Wastelands, the 3rd book, and you're really not liking it, you're probably safe to put it down. But I think definitely at least read the 2nd book, because the 2nd book is so good and different and weird from the 1st book that you'll be like, oh, okay, I kind of see how just ambitious this is going to be.
Okay.
Like how weird it's going to be.
Because people that like it, like, love it. They're like, this was one of the best experiences
I love it.
I will say,
love it. It's flawed in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Well, speaking of long, Wheel of Time is one as well. I saw that come up in the comments. For me, the slog had put me off of that. I tried Eye of the World a couple times when I was younger. Didn't really work. So I don't know. Wheel of Time, I probably will pass on for now. But Dark Tower is a must. Like next year for sure. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay. Cool. It's good to know I could jump off if I'm not vibing it.
Yeah.
Wheel of Time can suck it. Yeah. A series I'm intimidated by. This is not really a series like in the conventional sense. Like I'm worried about, I'm intimidated about reading it, but it's Discworld. Because I genuinely don't know if I'm going to like that or not.
I
genuinely don't know. Like it's
very
so
specific,
up in the air.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way with it.
I feel like
I'm either going to love it or hate it.
Well, that one's also weird.
Quickly.
You'll know very quickly, and that one's also weird where like people that like Discworld like don't like a lot of the books within Discworld. So that one's kind of hard because it's so much, and it's some of it is very different from each other. So
Alan.
Yeah.
Because Alan likes books that nobody else likes.
Yeah.
So
everyone must hate it for him to continue to like it. So yeah.
Yeah.
Until everyone reads it because he likes it, and then all of a sudden it turns into a popular book, and then he has to hate it again. It's the cycle, the Alan cycle. Like everyone's going to be reading LPGO this year, and I do hate. Pyramids is the only Discworld book I read, and
I'm so sad you started there. I'm so sad you started.
You started with the worst one.
I Guards is going to be my next, like my reattempt at the series for sure.
Yeah,
that's the one I'm going to start with too.
You know what you should read, Alex? When are you planning to dive into a Discworld book? When did you say? Like you're gonna just like next year or like soon or what? Around Christmas, read Hogfather. Around Christmas,
that's actually another one I was thinking.
And like see how that feels, and then you can kind of judge it. I think because that one's pretty good.
Yeah, I actually almost impulsively picked it up during this past December.
It's fun to read around Christmas too. Yeah.
Good to know.
So there's an idea.
Yeah, I'm gonna try some Discworld books this year too, and I have the same, like, I have no idea, because if the humor is like too zany, it's gonna be hard for me to really like it. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, it's done in a way that like he was so clever, and there are written. Alan touched on this too. He's like, be careful reading the audiobooks because the written word puns just like land different. Like he does so many things that are so intelligent that you might not pick up on. So the humor is there, and it's British humor, but it's not zany. So I'm touching on this. Humor. It's very smart. And I think even if you don't find it funny, you could appreciate it. but you'll know very quick, will it work for you or will it not? But it's not zany. It's not like stupid humor. It's very, very clever and well done.
Well, and I grew up watching a lot of like old British comedy, so I think that may help, maybe, if I'm understanding
if you like
correctly.
that, you'll love
I do,
because it's done very.
I do like
very
British
smartly.
humor.
Yeah. Like, I don't watch hardly anything American anymore. But let me see. A lot of people see. I would say, like, Alan is frustrated because there's kind of been this thing that's been said about Discworld, and that people have latched onto that. It sounds like with the zany humor kind of thing. Yeah. I feel like Malazan is definitely another one of those series where people talk it up so much that it's like, this is the most terrifying series you will ever read. And I'm like, if I can read it and love it, I promise you'll be fine. Like,
so here's my thing with Malazan. I'm terrified because I already have a full-time job. I don't want a second full-time job reading the series, taking notes, like studying. And then if I don't like it, I'm going to have this existential crisis of like, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I broken? Like, why don't I get it? You know what I mean? Like, I'm terrified to come up with that conclusion of like, it's me.
I actually think I'll like Guardians of the Moon.
I just went through it.
I think I'll like Guardians of the Moon.
Kind of was looking at it as, I mean, I read it 10 years ago when I was very new to epic fantasy. So I had like zero foundation in epic fantasy. And Gardens of the Moon, I was very confused. And I was like, I'm not really sure what's going on. But there's some really, like, the character moments were just so good. And I was interested enough in the world that I was like, you know what, I really want to read the second book. And then I got to Dead House, and the character moments just went poof, like, and that's where, So that's why I tell people, like, it looks intimidating on the outside, but I read it and loved it. It stayed one of my favorite fantasy series with only 4 books for 10 years. And I knew nothing, like nothing. So if that makes you feel better.
I might give it a shot. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I don't know. My answer for it would be kind of Malazan probably for a while, but like you, I read Guardians of the Moon a few years ago, like before I ever watched any booktube or anything. And I didn't have, outside of like Lord of the Rings and kind of like the major epic fantasy that I had read in my life, I didn't have a lot of experience with modern adult epic fantasy. And I kind of read it and it was confusing, but like you said, the character moments were so good. And I liked the scene setting he was doing in there was awesome. And I had a lot of fun with it. And then I just never read the second book. But I still think it kind of remained as a somewhat intimidating read just because people talk it up so much. But I tried not to ever let that, talk me down from ever trying it. So I am reading right now. So if I'm looking at series I haven't started, it's kind of tricky because I'm trying to think. I think one that has been stuck in my mind for a while that I don't think I'm intimidated by, but it's one that I've heard a lot of people say, oh, you're not going to understand it on your first time through. But I really want to try it no matter what, is Book of the New Sun.
Yes. Yeah. I was just going to say, is it Gene Wolfe?
Yeah. Like that's one I really want to try. And see, I know it's like Rakio's favorite, one of, if not his favorite series outside of Lord of the Rings.
I think that's it. I don't want to find out. I don't want to find out that I'm stupid. You know what I mean? Right. Like that would be a sad. Like as much as you guys say it, I can dispute
But I think everyone would take. People are reading these books before BookTube was ever a thing and enjoying it enough for it to be like a major popular, well-published series. So, I think everyone picks on different things that they connect with within a book, and just you could read Ulysses and you might enjoy it for like a very confined reason, and someone else may pick apart all the the more, very heavy intellectual deconstruction of it, and you're like, didn't pick up on any of that, but I still enjoy reading it. And I've never read Ulysses. I just threw it in there, but like I don't know. Everyone kind of has a different experience with books, so I wouldn't get hung up too much on it.
I mean, I have at least 2/3 of Gene Wolfe's canon of work in my house because of my husband. Like he is a massive Gene Wolfe fan, and we usually every year we each pick a book that we're going to make the other person read. And for me last year, I told him, you're reading Lies of Locke Lamora, which he loved. And he made me read as my first ever Gene Wolfe, The Fifth Head of Cerberus, which nobody probably, I don't know if anybody in the chat has read it.
No.
Whatever you do, I have read nothing else by Gene Wolfe, but whatever you do, don't start there. Because it's, I'm kind of
Sounds
like,
interesting.
with THEO, I don't really enjoy reading books where I feel like the author is intentionally trying to make me feel like an idiot, and it feels like I'm doing one of those metal brain puzzles that I can't get apart in my head. That's not a fun experience for me. So like Ben was like, yeah, you got to read this. It's so interesting. And at the end of it, I didn't understand it, finished the book. Ben explained it to me. I still didn't understand it. And I was like, I don't know. I don't have anything for you, dear. I got nothing. So, but I know Book of the New Sun has been kind of making the rounds, and sounds like people are enjoying it.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like, I know a few people who are either currently reading it or who have just finished it. And they're like, yeah, I definitely recognize that I didn't understand everything on the first read, but I know I enjoyed it. For whatever reason, whether it was just the basic plot or whatever, they liked the writing enough that they enjoyed it. And, you know, I don't know. It's not always fun if you're going into a series and you're like, this is definitely going to take me multiple reads to understand it. But, you know, sometimes books do, and it's just kind of an individual experience at that point.
Yeah. Jimmy had a good stat.
That's also very true.
Yeah. I mean, which is
we see it talked about a lot, but
probably why we can't get consistent hardcovers for the series. But
oh my god, Alan keeps bringing up this Ulysses thing. I've never even brought it. I've never read it. I just brought it up. It
was an example.
Saying a thing. I was just saying some words, and they were just vomiting.
He's getting so mad. Okay, what is Ulysses?
That makes me so sad. That makes me so sad. I hope you reconsider at some point, Michael.
I think you should too. Yeah, for sure.
But I can understand why they would think that and why they would say that. It's unfortunate, but I sort of fell into the same trap, right?
I was gonna say one of the series that I'm actually really intimidated by, that I know. It's one of those things where I think I'm going to love it, but I'm not sure, is actually Dandelion Dynasty. But the lovely part about that is I have so many friends that love it. I'm like, I mean, I've got some good hand holders.
It's one that I should have started that, and I actually have a couple of the books. I should have started that, and you guys kind of pushed me to try it, and I didn't get around to it. And I would agree. That's one that, like, I don't know if I'm going to like it, because it's it's not divisive, but the people that really like it, I don't think I like everything that they read, so I wonder exactly what line it's going to fall on for me.
I don't think.
Good point.
I don't think you should go in expecting to like it. I think it is very niche in kind of the series that it is. But I do think if you like historical fiction and you like, you know, depending on what historical fiction you read, you might really enjoy Grace of Kings. Then the series kind of changes after that. It becomes like more. Not traditional fantasy, but like more easier to follow narratively. And it becomes like kind of more familiar in that sense, more epic fantasy. But a lot of people put it down after the first book because it is very different than anything else in fantasy and kind of how it's structured. But I think you should absolutely give it a shot. I think more people would like it than think they would. I think a lot of people don't try it because they don't think they'll like it, and they don't. Is what it is. They hear the third person omniscient. They're like, nope, I'm out. I'm like,
oh, really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I mean,
like Shogun.
Actually, I think I was going to say just having read Shogun might be actually a better time for me to pick it up this year then, because I actually didn't mind the third omniscient in Shogun at all. So
I didn't either from what I read.
It's really
and like it wasn't as jarring as I thought it would be, to be honest. So yeah.
Oh my gosh, I am so excited to read We Are the Dead.
I want to
read it so bad.
I want to read.
Buddy read.
I might pick it up
that seems
next
like
month. It's been on my list for a while. Yeah.
Dude, you keep adding books to my May and June.
Not May. I'm not doing nothing.
You can't
in May.
pick it up and not have me also pick it up.
Okay.
Right. Well, like you guys are all sitting over here talking about Gates of Fire, and I'm like, ugh, the FOMO.
Yep.
I'm excited for that one. That'll be fun.
So I'm kind of curious, because we kind of touched on it just now, like, what is, if you had to throw in a bunch of character archetypes, tropes, etc., to make what you have kind of found similarities of your favorite books, what makes the book the favorite book for you guys? What are the things typically that you find in them?
That's interesting.
I ask all the stumper questions on this channel.
Well, I think go ahead,
start, Alex, please.
I think it's generally characters. Like, it's rare when I read a book and really enjoy it, unless it's a book that intentionally does it, like Three Body Problem or something like that, where you're kind of going in knowing what to expect.
It's about other things. Yeah.
Most of the stuff I like is pretty character driven, and deliberately so. And if it's not at first, it becomes it over the course of like 12 books or whatever it is. So like Dresden, like I'm reading Dresden right now and I'm enjoying it significantly more now than I was the first couple of books. And I think that's because of just the sheer amount of time I've spent reading it that I'm like, oh, I like this character way more now. So for me, it's definitely character stuff. I'd say, you guys both liked, Theo, you've read Farseer, RJ's through Tawny Man. I would say you guys definitely enjoyed that when it comes to Robin Hobb, at least.
Yeah.
I think for me, what I see, what I enjoy and what I see as common threads, it sort of evolves. So at first it was, it's very interesting because even in a short period of a couple of years, I've evolved from more of a plot reader to more of a, like, I need a little bit more character, and I didn't turn into a character first reader. Like, there needs to be plot and there needs to be something to keep my interest, but the characters do need to be there. And I find that as I evolve, like, the themes and metaphor and prose and like all that stuff starts to matter more to me. And I can read a book without any of that and still enjoy it. But I'm starting to maybe not seek those out or enjoy it, but maybe appreciate those when I find them more than I did before. I don't know. I like certain tropes. Like I do like kind of the underdog struggle a little bit, and I do like the orphan farm boy goes on a quest type of thing when I'm reading like classic fantasy and stuff. Like found family is a huge one for me. Only child, small family. Like I like when people come together and like become a thing. I really like that. Yeah, I don't know. It varies, I guess.
I was just I like am towards the end of Emberblade right now, and it has a lot of those super familiar tropes, like farm boy goes on.
I'm excited to read that one.
Found family and stuff, and it's like not really doing anything new, but I went in expecting that it was going to do that, and it feels like very nostalgic, and I'm liking it for that reason.
Yes.
Which is nice.
How about you, RJ?
For me, I've never really thought about this. So the main, I think the thing I love, like,
what beats the DNA
is I think I tend to love books that do something different and something that I can't get anywhere else. Like, it's the reason why I love the Aspect Emperor series by R. Scott Baker. It's so just, there's this raw sort of bleakness and just a dark tone to it that I've never seen before, and I don't think I don't think I'll ever see it again. You know, fifth season was kind of the second person kind of stuff. I know that's not particularly unique, but you know, something that's not done very often. You know, three body problem, remembrance of Earth's past. You know, going really into physics and going like giving me something different. Like it's not character driven, so it's something you know that I don't typically read. But I would just say anything like Horrible Wonderland and the End of the World by Haruki Murakami.
Yes, I love that you love that.
Yeah, that's just, it's so weird and it's so out there. I just love it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would say
that's a good point.
Books.
I'd usually align with that. If a book's doing something very different, I usually personally like it a lot to a point. I mean, it has to be doing other stuff as well, but
has to have more
it
stuff.
definitely perks my interest quite a bit. Like, so Prince of, you brought up R. Scott Baker. Prince of Nothing for sure was that for me, and I know I'll probably feel the same when I get to Aspect Emperor, but
you will.
Different than anything else
I've
read. Dude, I'm so excited.
I'm so excited for you to read that. It's
like
the great ordeal.
Same thing with. Oh, that's what I've heard.
It's amazing.
It's like the same thing with Song of Ice and Fire. Like when I read first read a Song of Ice and Fire, I was like, there's nothing else like it. Jimmy just brought up China Mayville, and so I've read Perdido Street Station, and I really enjoyed it. I loved how different it was. I've literally never read another fantasy book that is like that. It's also kind of sci-fi-y, steampunk-y. But I know Jimmy just read The Scar and loved it, and that is a book I almost picked up the other day, and so probably will be reading it soon. But he's an author that is very interesting and has a very, very unique style and tone. So RJ, you should give Perdido another shot.
Oh yeah, I should. I definitely should. Can't wait. I've read I read the synopsis for The Scar, and The Scar sounds so good.
And it sounds so good. Amazing. It literally sounds like what
I'll be right
liked
back.
About Perdido.
No problem. We'll take it from here. No problem.
We'll enjoy more.
You know, one thing is, for me, like I'm starting to realize I'm more of a mood reader than I anticipated. And I try and structure things because Alex, you and I work in finance. We plan stuff. There are targets, there are goals. Like I'm naturally a planner, and I like to structure things. I like lists. I like to look ahead. But I also I'm kind of at the mercy of my mood most of the time lately. And so for me, like what I like will change day by day. And even in the same type of genre, in my fantasy, I might be in the mood for different things. Maybe I want like super heavy tropes and just like classic, turn my brain off, like have fun. And then I want something like really unique, or like I want the author to take risks. I want people to die. I want stuff like that's going to be like make me like
I always want
my
that.
mind.
Yeah.
But so and like sometimes I want to cry at a Frederick Bachman book, and sometimes I just want to like get a scare from a Stephen King. Like I don't know, it's different all the time. And that's what BookTube has been so good about, is like expanding our, broadening our horizons a little bit and getting you to reach for things that you might not otherwise have tried. And that's been the best thing for me. That's been like number one. I'm so grateful to the community. Yeah, for that.
I've like expanded my, at first I was like so sticking to such a schedule, and then I kind of went totally away from the schedule. And now I'm like hybrid, where I have 3 or 4 books I know I'm going to be reading, and then I leave room for other stuff. So like right now, I'm reading Lions of Alverson, and I just totally impulsively picked it up because I was like,
and you're loving it, right?
I wanted to read. I think loving it, but I also think it happens to be that the mood I was in was
working,
kind of craving for something like that. That if I had forced myself to read a book like that at a different time, it might not have worked as much as it's working right now. So I definitely love the mood reading as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, mood reading's pretty good. I tried to do the TBRs and all that, but like every time I try to stick to it, it just falls apart.
Well, and it's almost like when you put it on a TBR and do the video, and then you're like, yeah, but now I said I was going to read it, so now do I really feel like I want to read it? It's tough.
I literally had Kyle call me out. He was like, "Hey, did you end up reading this book? Like your TBRs are chaotic. I can never keep." I'm like, "No, actually, I didn't. I lied to you guys." So yeah. It is what it is.
I was like,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I've said it before, but before BookTube, I used to just binge series like consistently. Like if I was gonna start a series and I liked it, I would just go right into the next book, and I would just do that until I was truly burnt out of the series, or just finish the whole thing. And now I don't do that. I've been trying to be better of letting myself kind of go right into the next book if I'm feeling it, but I try to at least give it another book or two in between, which is really different, and it's totally changed kind of my reading as it relates to my.
I don't have it in me. I need to space them out. Like one a month is max. Like if I read 2-3 books in a month of the same series, like I can't. I get too not at risk of being offensive, like I get too like ADD with that. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how else to explain it. I just like I need to. I'm like, okay, that was awesome, but like I need to try that. Start book ones of like these series, and then get back to it. I wish I could just.
I feel that.
I
15 book ones.
Right?
Honestly, it's getting ridiculous. I just don't in my chemistry. Like I just don't have it to binge through more than maybe 2 back to back. That's probably it. I'll come back to them, but like I need to sample too much. I think that stems from me not reading as much as other people. I read like 5 books a month, 6 if they're like kind of shorter. That's kind of it. So I really got to be selective. If I read 12 books a month, I'd be like, okay, I'll read 2 or do a trilogy, and then I still have other books to read, right? But I need to kind of space them out.
That's a trilogy. Do a Song of Ice and Fire, and
then fit in another book. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll do Dandelion and a Song of Ice and Fire in June, and then July we'll focus on that.
Yeah, I really feel like I try to throw in a lot of palate cleansers in between if I'm reading. If I am reading a series, like when I binged through Faithful and the Fallen last year, I had a bunch of like short. Like I had one translated Korean novel that I read in between the two, and then I read like a memoir, and then I read like a shorter fantasy book, kind of all in between those, because that really helps. And I try really hard to only start 1 or 2 at the most fantasy series at a time, so I don't have a whole bunch of open ones. But
I
it
failed
doesn't
at
always work.
I try to do that too, unless it's
tough.
Like Malazan, where it's 10 books. If it's something that long, we'll try to just let it go. Like trilogies, I only try to have like 3 max going, because then I'm like, I just need to finish the trilogy. It's like 3 books to knock it out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think for May, my plan is after the readathon and having a ton of like buddy reads and stuff going on at the beginning of the year, it's like, I'm going to get to May. I'm going to do like here's my TBR video is basically, here's all of my shelves. I will probably read something from these shelves.
That's kind of what I'm doing. I'm doing like a mood read May.
Or
I'm just going to be like, here are a bunch of books that I'm... Yeah. Yeah, or I'll read nothing.
I'll find new books from a bookstore that I happen to go to during the month, which happens to me literally all the time. Like,
here's my
I didn't
mood
own
by
this book
haul.
when I did this TBR, but now I do.
Yeah, I'm excited. Next month, I'm just going to pick like whatever, whenever. It happens that we're going to read a couple things together, but I'm literally just going to grab like what I want. I'm going to read I'm going to read Ryan Cahill's novella. I'm going to read, I just ran a couple books that I just bought, some shorter ones. We're going to read the second David Gemmell book in the Drenai series, because we're like,
I'm excited for that,
we enjoyed that. Like, let's keep rolling. So whatever we're feeling,
they're fun.
Like, I'm just going to go.
Yeah. The minute my book buying ban of April is over, like May 1st, I'm buying the second Drenai book.
Yeah. I bought
the first one on my list.
Actually, no, I bought another trilogy that I shared with the boys. It was I forget what it was called, the John Shano trilogy. I bought that, but then I have all of the Drenai books already. So I'm like, I'm just gonna roll through that series.
Nice.
What's Gemmell's one series? Regante?
Yeah,
the one that's like
I want to read Regante.
I want to read that.
Sounds so good.
I want to read that.
How many books is
the
that?
The Troy trilogy is
super
good.
Regante,
I think, is 4. Yeah.
I have the first Troy book, and I actually started reading it, I want to say like a year ago. I think I got like 50 pages in, and it just was one of those moments where I was like, I know I'm going to like this, but not right now. So I put it away. But I definitely want to get back to that one too, because the Trojan War and Greek versus, all of that kind of stuff is definitely.
I actually started. I have a couple other Gemmell books, and I actually started. I think it was, is this David Gemmell? Lion of Macedon, I think. There's a couple.
I think that's him.
Or is it?
I think that's David Gemmell. I was thinking if it was Con Eagledon. It's not. I think it's David Gemmell. Lion of Macedon, and then there's like Prince. I can't remember, but I started reading it.
Gemmell.
And I was like 20% in. I was liking it. I just wasn't in the mood for that era, that time in history, that type of historical fiction. I know I'm going to love it.
That is Gemmell.
I enjoy Gemmell as an author now. I just know. But it's not what I was in the mood for. Yeah, Dark Prince. So I have the 2 books, exactly. And you know what's interesting? people always say the Troy is it a trilogy? I think it's a trilogy. They're so good, but I think that's one where Stella Gemmell, his wife, like finished it.
Yeah.
And they're still like like, you know what I mean? Like it worked, and people donate my heritage. I love it. We're reading Gates of Fire next month. Did you miss that? I can't wait.
Yeah, he did.
Can't wait to miss it. Gates of Fire. Yeah.
I'm
That was a Jeopardy question.
I might
Yeah.
slide into the DMs of that buddy read.
Do
We'll see.
it. The more the merrier.
Yeah. Because I really want to read that one too.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Well, so we've been going for an hour and a half, which is awesome and stuff. But my last question for you guys would be, what author would you love to interview? Because I know, RJ, I didn't actually realize that you had interviewed Thiago, which was really cool, like a year ago, which is awesome. I'm going to watch that. And then Alex, you got to interview Fonda Lee, which was really awesome. Which is another one that I want to watch it, but I'm waiting until I've actually like read the Greenbone saga. Yeah. So outside of
That's a good question.
Anybody you've already interviewed, who would you really like to interview or talk to?
Dead or alive? Tolkien.
I mean, alive, just
I don't even know
because
if I
that
would
could
choose
be a
Tolkien.
possibility.
Yeah. Probably
question.
Hob, just because.
Yeah.
For me, probably Hob, just because I
for
just
you.
finished that, and it's just, I don't know. I think it'd be really interesting to pick her brain.
I would interview
about
Brandon Sanderson, so my channel would blow up.
was.
And then, honestly, I think a chat with John Gwynn would be super fun.
Oh yeah.
I love John Gwynn.
You should
He's a
ask.
good dude.
You could totally have him. He would probably say yes for sure.
I mean, he's
Especially
got
'cause
shit going on, but yeah, I
kids
mean,
are
maybe
very
one day that would be kind of cool. And actually, we were
Chef.
joking. RJ and I were thinking about rereading The Faithful and the Fallen, and apparently in the comments someone had said that the brothers were
They're
planning on
hosting
doing that
one.
too.
I
So we
think
were going to
they-
reach
I
out and be
think
like,
they
"Hey,
are,
do you want to
yeah.
like see if we can get people reading that series? That would be fun." So yeah, Gwynn's a good dude.
Yeah,
Is
the interviews
great.
I've watched, he seems super nice.
I don't know. I would have to have a translator with me, but Cixin Liu,
Oh yeah,
I would love to interview him. I would love to get into pick his brain and see what makes this guy tick, because the Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy is something else. Death's End, I've never thought about a book more than Death's End. It's
That book
so
wow.
Yeah.
With you.
that I
Makes you
okay.
question your
Alex will know what I'm talking about. But if you've not read it, you'll have no context.
No spoilers
for
on
this.
Tori's channel.
So this is
Right?
so this is not a spoiler. Like, if you have no context,
You should delete the
But
title of the stream.
the picture scene. Alex will know what I'm talking about
Oh yeah.
when I say the picture scene. That's the most beautiful scene I've ever read, ever.
I
But
love it, dude.
there's a twist to it. It's so
You're reading
it's
Ball Lightning.
brilliant.
You're reading Ball Lightning right now.
Yeah. And that's
That's also
it's very clear that he's just like he's
Science nerd.
mainly interested in talking about just nerding out about lightning. That's all this book is, and then
Dude,
there's a
lightning.
story shoved in it. But it's still
Let's build a story about lightning.
fascinating.
Let's do Thunder. Ball
Yeah.
Thunder.
Both under.
It's
Next
actually a good
month,
point though,
RJ
because
I might read that dinosaur book, that Ants and Dinosaurs, whatever that one's called. Just
Oh,
like,
that's really
Dinosaurs.
short.
yeah, like why
Yeah.
not? You know,
It's
Sorry.
it's called something different in America. I think it's
Something
called
less
the
cool, probably.
the Cretaceous Past.
Cretaceous
I think that's what it's
Past,
called in
that's
the
what
US. It's the same book.
Lame.
It's wild.
You're
It's such a
It
trip.
brings up a good point though, RJ, about translation. That's something I've always been. It's just I think it's so
Yeah.
interesting how, like, when something's translated, like you're getting a semblance of the same story. It is like generally the same story, but it's not 100% the same story, and so people are reading different versions of the same story. And I've always just found that to be super interesting. So it is really cool when you're reading like something that's been translated, or someone else is reading something that you read in English and they're reading a translated version of it. And it's really, I don't know, There's a whole that's a whole another multi-hour conversation that you could have.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Yeah, I want to read. Ken Liu has 2 collections of translated short stories from China, and I think it's Invisible Planets and Broken Stars, and that's what the 2 books are. And I'd love to read that.
I still only read Ken Liu's stuff.
Yeah,
I need to read his short stories.
Yeah.
Paper Menagerie.
I read the Paper Menagerie as a story in that collection, and that's something that I cried at because
What I've heard.
I had immigrant parents growing up. Like, I'm an only child. Like, it just kind of the relationship without spoiling. It just resonated with me, and I just kind of got emotional about it. So yeah, it's those instances where something specific triggers something in you, a memory or a feeling or whatever. That's kind of what makes me cry. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's funny because I had heard, and I've said this on my channel in other live streams before, but I had talked to a family member at one point that said that they don't read any kind of fantasy because they can't learn anything from it. And I was like,
God,
I'm so sorry that you think that that's the experience you would have. You have no idea what I've learned from fantasy.
Or what you can experience. Like, sometimes people think fantasy can't have depth to it and can't have, you know what I mean? Can't give you more than just, which is crazy.
That's like my like my brother is, mostly nonfiction, and the fiction he reads is like what you think you should read if you're like a teacher of English or something.
Right.
Like the class. It's like
Yeah.
stuff I don't want to read right now. But
Yeah.
and like I've tried to sell it to him so many times. Like, dude, just read. I don't know. You don't even have to read like Lord of the Rings. Just pick up. I could find a random fantasy book that you will have never heard of.
That'll just hit you. Yeah.
I bet it would. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like Grace of Kings, I'm like, dude, you are the type of person that would love the Grace of Kings. Like, I just know what type of a reader he is, and like how fascinated he is by, political and military and all like country.
I wonder what it is that
stuff, and it
stops somebody from jumping into the genre, because a lot of people just have like there are people that I know as well where like I'm positive if they just read this book or this series, it would like change their whole perception. Maybe they're not going to jump in headfirst and become this huge ultimate fantasy fan, but they'll be like, oh, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
But they won't.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to change that.
Because I
How
feel
do
like
we
a lot
fix
of people,
other people,
but
guys? How do we?
They're really
It's like
big
any
questions.
genre. It's like, you have a general idea of what a genre is, and so it's hard for you to think of how it could differ from that perception.
It's on a lesser level. It's the same as when I go, oh, like I'm reading like whatever, and they're like, oh, I don't like Stephen King, or I wouldn't read Stephen King because I don't like scary books or horror. I'm like, what? And they're like, oh, I didn't know he wrote this. I'm like, you just don't know what you don't know, right? So it's crazy. Yeah.
Well, and there's this kind of weird kind of perception almost that, well, it's fantasy and it's not real. And I'm like, just because it takes place in a different world doesn't mean it's not real, because there's so many things that I actually find more real and easier to process about reality in a fantasy book than I do in, like, if I'm really having a rough mental health month, I don't reach for reality. I want fantasy because I'm like, I need to just read something in a different world. I'll probably still be processing the same things.
I did real today. I don't want more of that.
Right. I don't.
Yeah.
Arliss wants to know if there are genres that we don't read, which is a good question.
Yeah.
I don't ever say no.
I don't read like
specific
like romance as a genre. I don't. I appreciate well done romance in my books actually, but I wouldn't pick up a romance for that. That's probably it. I love mysteries. I love thrillers, sci-fi, fiction, horror, even nonfiction, fantasy. I just can only read what I can read, and so I tend to hover in the same areas. But I'll read a lot of everything, a little bit of everything. I mean, if I had the time.
I definitely try like going beyond, like buying things I'm not really familiar with. So I try not to say no to anything, but like, I guess if I was to pick one genre, it'd be romance. I just am not well read in at all. I just like have not read.
Yeah.
just not read really any.
And I bet you
romance
someone
book,
that's versed in the genre could recommend one to you based on your taste that would like knock your socks
100%.
off, and you'd be like, "Oh shit! Like that's I didn't expect that." Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Tall guy reads romance.
Yeah.
Talk about a video that'll get views. Hey, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need to even need to clickbait. Just put that on and you're good. Like, yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm pretty open to, I would say, like,
Sorry, I just read a comment.
Which one?
Fantasy is cool because you learn about friendship and decapitation
at the same time.
He's
the
not
best
wrong.
of both worlds.
He's not wrong, right? Yeah, romance for me too, just because, and I know again, this is me not being versed in the genre at all.
Yeah.
But because for me, it usually feels cheesier, and I know that's a me perception thing. And romance is, I'm very picky about romance in books. Even in fantasy, there are, romances in fantasy books that I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I would say really hard sci-fi for me too. Like once it gets super, super sciencey and technical and all that, I can't, my brain doesn't work that way. So yeah.
I stay away from the hard stuff too, Tori. That's true. Yeah, I can.
Yep. There you go. If anybody needs a romance resource, there you go.
Yeah.
Nice.
How about you, RJ?
Yeah, just romance. I don't like. I'm not interested in romance. A surprise.
Do you like hard sci-fi, RJ? Like, I mean, you've read more of it probably than we have, but like, do you seek that genre out?
Yeah, I haven't seeked much of it out, but I think I do prefer the hard sci-fi to the softer, because sometimes the softer sci-fi nearly feels like fantasy at times, and if I'm trying to get away from fantasy, it feels like
it's not enough of a jump.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Hi, John.
Hey, John.
Yeah, I think that's probably about it. I mean, I'm sure there are others. Like contemporary fiction, it really depends on the story for me.
Yeah.
For sure.
I've been like I've always been off and on with it depending on mood and what I've been reading.
And I think it doesn't help that a lot of the lit fic that I've been exposed to or tried to read is like taking itself way too seriously and like trying too hard to be something or say something that it gets really heavy-handed or, that kind of stuff. So I tend to be very picky about that too.
Yeah. Are there, I'm just curious before we go, like, are there any genres that you tend to appreciate or enjoy listening to audio more than other genres? Like, obviously nonfiction, like audio is kind of my jam. Even lit fic, like if I have the audio, that's probably good. Stephen King, like if the audio is good, like I can just listen to those. Fantasy, I tend to like to read. You know what I mean? If I could, and sci-fi, I think I get more out of it if I do because I'm dumb with sci-fi. But yeah, are there any genres where you're like, oh, audio for me is better with that genre? I wonder how romance would go. What do they do on the audio? Do they like? Anyway, that's a different. Sorry, that's a different thing.
That is not something I would ever audiobook.
I just had this question just arose in my head. Like, what do they do?
Why don't you go find out and report back?
You think I won't? You think I won't? But I will. Yeah,
Theo will.
Yeah,
guys,
you'll never guess.
This, don't worry.
Alex, I don't listen to hardly any audiobooks, so I
don't.
very little.
I listen to audio.
I don't.
I think it honestly, I don't think it would be any genre I stay away from. I really don't like doing book ones of anything on audio, and I try to.
Good call, probably.
I think it really just depends. Like, audio is so dependent on narrator that I feel like if I don't like the narrator, it's just not even worth it for me to even try.
It's tough. The narrator makes it big.
I know it's going to be an experience that would be subpar to me personally than if I were to just read it physically.
Yeah.
And then sometimes I'm like, there have been some instances where I could pick up an audiobook and I'm like, wow, this is just so good. And I just love the narration. I love everything that I'm just like, well, audio the entire series or whatever it is. But I think it's just very different. It's hard to pick. I would say lit fic and like Stephen King are probably easier to follow on audio.
Yeah.
A lot of the time than something that's like a big epic sprawling
I would
fantasy,
agree with Michael, like crime books, like mystery thrillers and stuff. Those are quite good for me on audio. I can jam with those quite easily and enjoy them sometimes more. Because there's a bit of production there or whatever. But fantasy, when I want to let my brain go, like I think I agree with Alex. Sometimes you get more, and with the characterizations, like with the Hobbes series and stuff, like they just land different when you just read them and you just internalize it. I would agree.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I would say for me, I always like historical fiction on audio.
Historical fiction's good.
Like I did Agincourt by Bernard Cornwell. I did pretty much all of that on audio. And like I can't remember the guy's name who did the audiobook, but he was really good for it. And that's like the only audiobook he's done. Like he didn't do anything else. He's just done Agincourt. So it's
crazy.
It's a bit weird, but he's very, very good. I really liked him. So.
Yeah.
Nice.
With the one I am currently listening to, I will have listened to 2 audiobooks probably in the last 10 years.
So hang on a second, because you're a mom and you have a family and you're busy and stuff. Like, how do you escape to sit down with a book and like truly, like if you're not a mom running around listening to audio, like how do you read so much?
So it's just something I prioritize, to be honest. Like, and my kids are old enough now where I don't have any, tiny hands ripping pages or anything like that, which helps. But I don't know. I think for me, audiobook is something that I'm learning how I audiobook because I think it's different for a lot of people. And I have ADD and like auditory is not my learning style at all. Like even in college, it took me until I was a senior, but I finally asked one of my professors, can I crochet in class, please? Because like I need to do something because otherwise I'm missing half of what you're saying and you're really interesting. It's not you, it's me,
Interesting.
So what I started working on recently, I listened to Wuthering Heights on audio, and that actually helped because what I decided to do was I went out and I saw that Joanne Froggatt, who plays Anna in Downton Abbey, for anybody that has watched that, I loved her character, and she had a recording of Wuthering Heights. So I was like, okay, this is a voice of somebody that I already know,
right? And
she's an actress, so and she's a very good one, and her performance in that was amazing. I have started going on walks every day because I was basically a cave bear for 6 months, and now I'm trying to like not be that. And I've discovered, right? And I've discovered for me that if I can like get my body moving and I'm going on a walk and I have my, I'm not just sedentary, suddenly the audiobook is like better, but I'm also not focusing on like 5 different tasks. Like I gotta do laundry. I got to get the kids this. I got to go do, because otherwise that I would miss.
Too much.
That's too much.
Okay. Very interesting. Because I know a lot of people for some, it doesn't work for everyone. And I know some people just don't like audio, but they're like, I don't enjoy it as much. But there are people where I'm like, if you didn't audiobook, like it's a cheat code for so many people.
Oh yeah.
And a bit of a crutch, or like I can only really have time to audiobook as much as I do. So I was curious how people get through so much to sit down and read. It takes so much time.
I just sit down and read. I mean, my kids are pretty independent too, and there's a lot of imaginative play that happens in my house. So they're off, building a fantasy world in the corner, and I'm sitting down with my book, in the same room or in the next room, and my son is 10 and he reads. Like he's out and about a lot too, but there are at least one day of the week I'll look in and he's been in his room reading all day. And so we're definitely like that's just like we didn't have a TV in our house until in the like main area of our house until early late last year.
Wow.
So my kids are just like, books are it, you know.
Yeah.
And we do, I mean, we do watch stuff every once in a while, but it's more like
Books are a
just
priority in the house.
That's right. That's a culture of our house. So
Interesting. Cool.
Yeah, so that has helped. And my kids listen to audiobooks because we'll play, like when they're going to sleep, we'll play, you know, The Adventures in Odyssey or whatever it is, you know. But yeah, I'm listening to an audiobook right now, Heliotrope by Palmer Pickering.
Yeah, I've seen that one make the rounds a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. The first 2 chapters were absolutely beautiful. Really liked it. And the guy who's the narrator sounds like I'm being read a story by my grandfather. So I'm like, I'm here for it.
Awesome.
I'm good.
Wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Cool.
I loved it. So I'm about 2-3 chapters into that one and really loving it.
Cool.
Yep. So that's my non-audiobooker.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true, because people ask me like, oh my gosh, how do you write books as a mom, or how do you read? Well, like, you know, we all have the same 24 hours in a day, and it's honestly what you prioritize. And that's the me thing. You know, as a mom, sometimes it can be really hard to not lose yourself in being a mom. And it's really important to me that I, you know, encourage my kids to read, and that they see me reading, and that's a big deal in our house. So
Yeah. Cool.
That was my problem, John. I'd be like, oh shoot, I missed half that chapter. What happened?
Yeah. I'm getting better at audio. I find that I have to rewind less frequently. I used to have to like go back and back and back, and like I'd still, you know, read more than I otherwise would, because if I'm doing a chore or whatever, like I would just not be reading otherwise, right? So yeah, I'm doing that less, and you're right. It's a skill, actually. I've seen that in the comments too. Like it's a skill you develop.
Definitely a skill.
If you want it. Yeah.
Yep. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
I
And
listen
then
to a good
eventually
amount of
you can get like Kyle and have things on 9 times speed and get through 30 books a month. That is his skill. And
I know it's honestly mind blowing. Madison asked me the other day, she was all excited that she heard that I was doing an audiobook, and she's like, oh, awesome. Are you like, what speed are you at? I'm like, I am at 1 time speed.
What do
and
you
we're
mean?
gonna start there. We're going to see how that goes, because if it speeds up, and now I'm trying to, like, when I say I'm not an auditory learner, like, it's ridiculous. So I'm like, I don't want to push myself yet. We'll get into a groove, and then I'll see what 1.25
You'll find
looks
that
like.
it adapts quite easily, actually. You'll find that
It
eventually
definitely does.
this is too, I mean, you have to push it. You have to like go to 1.1, 1.2 and like try that. And then when you go back to normal,
then it feels
like,
slow.
oh, it's the worst.
Yeah. Well, the readers themselves are actually deliberately reading slower than
they are
conversational speed. Yeah, they're not reading at conversational speed.
Usually 1 1/4 gets you to like conversational, like normal speed. So that's kind of where I'd start. Yeah,
it's definitely something you'd like. Just the more you do it, the more you pick up. Just like same with reading. Like the more you read, the faster you'll read. If you haven't read in 10 years, you pick up a book, it's going to take you significantly longer to get through and digest a book, a 200-page book, than it would if you are just constantly reading.
Yeah.
But
Shay wants to know if we read multiple books at once.
100%. I have to.
I do, and that's something new for me. I used to always be 1 book at a time, and over the last couple of months, I've tried doing 2, max 3. I can't go beyond 3, but like usually do 2.
Same with me.
And maybe like I've been incorporating manga too as well, which is nice because it's like super different than anything else I'm reading. But I like it because as long as they're pretty different, I have no problem with it, and it's refreshing to kind of bounce between like a super sci-fi book and historical fiction. Or something
they have to be a little different for me too. Like I always have 2, and sometimes 1 will be on audio, and it's rare that I have 2 on the same format. It'll be 1 on audio, 1 on print, or an ebook and an audio, whatever. But it just keeps me bouncing back and forth, and it's kind of cool because then I can pretend like I'm giving into this mood that I have of like, I'm in the mood for fantasy. Well, like I have a fantasy book going, and I'm in the mood for whatever, and then I'll just read this other book instead. So it's always 2, like Alex said, max 3, and that one has to be kind of unique and different too. Maybe shorter, maybe illustrated or something, right? Yeah.
Or if like I'm at the tail end of one, if I'm like pretty close to the end of one, maybe I'll start.
I'll pick. Third one. Same with me. Yeah, I'll pick one up.
I've done that frequently, and then I'll like finish the other one. But then I'll try prioritizing and finish the other one. I don't want to keep that going for too long.
Yeah, I'm only one book at a time. I've tried doing the multiple book thing, but it just doesn't work. Like it's if I spend too long on a book, I'll just lose interest in it, regardless of how good it is. Like if I have a 600-page book and it's taking me 2 weeks to read, like I just lose interest. So if I have one book at a time, I can usually get through it quicker.
But what if you're not in the mood to read that particular book? But you wouldn't mind reading something. You just grind through it and you're like, no, I'm reading this.
Or just DNF.
Yeah, you either DNF it or yeah. That's the solution. I see.
RJ, I totally agree though. If I'm reading a book for too long and it's like over 2 weeks, I start turning into being like, I want to just be done with this book. Even if I want to pick something else up. At one point, it's like I need to be finished with this damn book. This needs to go. Even if it was like, oh, I love this book a week ago. And like been reading this for 20 days. Unless I'm deliberately reading it that long. If I'm deliberately taking it that slow, then that's one thing. But if it's just like happens to be taking that long for me to read, then it starts to turn into
like that was happening with Golden Full. Like I thought that book, like I thought I was going into 3 weeks with that book, but I actually wasn't. It was actually just 2 weeks. But I was on that book for that long. I genuinely thought it was 3 weeks.
Wow.
Reading this for a year.
You know? I was like, I just want to be done with this book. Even though it's not a bad book. It's like the most middle book of all time, but it's still really good.
Here's my yearly wrap up. Golden Fool. Awesome.
Golden Fool.
I read
3
one
stars.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with the different formats thing because I usually have one on my ebook because I get car sick if I'm reading a physical book in the car, but I can read my Kindle, which is weird.
Oh, that is weird.
So car rides, I usually have my ebook, going back and forth. And then I have my physical books. Sometimes I'll have more than one physical book going on, but I've discovered that usually that's a good sign that I'm starting to feel stressed out about like trying to read too many things or not reading the right things, need to mood read. Because then I'm kind of taste testing and like trying to find something. And now the audiobook. So I have 3, in process right now. But they're very compartmentalized into their formats, which helps, I think. Yeah.
I do that. I have like multiple format. Really helps me keep it siloed.
Right.
I do this. I do. Like if it takes too long, I will start to get bored or whatever. But then I end up taking books from the shelf. Like the next book I want to read, I'll take it out and I'll have it with me and I'll have it on the desk and like I'll be looking at it and I'm like, I can't wait to get to that one. So I'll just plow through this one and get it done. Even though I'm probably enjoying it, I'll just read it a little quicker than I otherwise would, or force myself to pick it back up when I'm not in the mood to read that moment or whatever. So I do that.
Yeah, I try not to do that just because answer John's question. I try not to do that just because I really do try to give every book I read the best possible headspace that I can. And so like I would feel weird rating it if I was just using it for motivation. Like I would feel like I'd want to say, okay, if this really isn't working for me, I'm going to either DNF it or put it to the side and come back to it when I feel like I'm more in that headspace for a book like this.
Right.
So, yeah.
It's too many books, too little time, you guys.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But well, thank you guys so much for joining me. How many times did we schedule this? 3-4 times?
It was worth it.
At least 3.
It was so worth it. I'm so glad.
Definitely.
I'm so glad that we finally actually got to sit down and chat because, Theo, I've known you for a long time. Alex, we kind of got to know each other a little bit better with Shogun. It's a bonding. Yep. That book is and RJ, it's been really nice to get to know you a little bit better because I was like, all right, I gotta meet RJ. It's time. So yeah, I really appreciate you guys coming on the channel, and I hope that we can continue doing fun things together and reading great books together. And
Amen.
Do you guys want to recommend a book for the chat on our way out? Theo, go.
Oh my god, Legend. Read Legend. It was
Okay.
good. It's my next
so
review.
good. Gosh, the
I loved
pressure.
it. There's a lot more to it, and it's just good. It's short. It's standalone. It can be read as a standalone. Pick it up. It's good.
Nice. RJ, we'll give Alex a minute.
RJ, go
He
next.
looks like he's
Okay.
panicking.
I'm like trying to find something.
All right. Zephyriel's Hand by Melissa McPhail. Book 1,
Hang
part of
on,
the Shadow
say it
and Light
again?
series.
Which one?
Zephyriel's Hand.
Okay.
So, do you want me to spell it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'll put it. Hold on. I'll stick it in the.
Oh,
Okay.
yep, I found it.
That's the thing with these chats is you end
You
up
find it?
having like 50
Okay.
more books on your TBR all of a sudden. What? Like,
Oh yeah.
Yep.
it's dangerous.
851 pages. Sorry.
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
Ar-
But I want more
That's
people to read
RJ's
it.
pick for
I
me
know.
for that was RJ's
Yeah,
pick.
it
I don't know if
is.
it still is.
It
but
is.
It's one of his picks for me for
It is.
my patron TBR thing, and I'm just like, one of these months I'm
Yeah.
gonna pick this book. It's gonna be like a 900-page book that I'm gonna like be reading. Because
Yeah.
Patreon.
Alex, you just read
Be
Shogun.
worth it.
So you don't really have
It's true.
an excuse.
But that was over
Okay.
3 months. So.
I have added
Yeah.
it. It's true. Yeah. I have added it to my Goodreads.
Nobody else will like it. It's kind of like it's a very me book. Like
Yeah.
it's sort of like the book that nobody else reads, but I do, and I love it. And I'm kind of like I'm almost protective over it because I'm like
Ooh.
I want people to read this, but I don't want people to read this because I don't want
Right.
them to hate it.
If you
because
hate
it's
it,
mine.
don't talk to me.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah. I have a couple books like that for sure.
Totally,
Yeah.
totally have a couple books like that.
Yep.
Mhm.
Did you think of one, Alex, or should I go next?
You can go. You can go.
Oh, okay.
I just don't know what direction to go.
All right. So one that I read recently, it's probably my favorite debut fantasy that I've read in the last like 6 to 8 months. Blood of Crows by Alex C. Pierce. I just interviewed him last night and we had a great conversation. This is if you take a thief con man, kind of like the kind of a slight Locke Lamora flavor, and drop him into a murder mystery in a fantasy world. That's what this book is. So it's amazing. It's very light, but it's also very dark, which is hard to explain, but you'll know what I mean if you read it. And I flew through it, couldn't put it down. And he does some really cool things with how he formats and gives you the story that I really, really liked. So that's my pitch for that.
Sweet.
Interesting.
Alex, there's no one left.
Well, I was like, I could go with just like a normal pick, like Assassin's Apprentice or Grace of Kings or something. But I was scrolling back. I think I'm gonna go with and this is kind of like RJ's pick. I think a lot of people wouldn't like this book, but The Traitor, Baru Cormorant by Seth Dickinson is a book that I read last year, and I still haven't read the second one, but it is so unique. It's a fantasy story, but it's like barely any fantasy. Very politically driven, kind of about a girl who lives in an empire that oppresses her and her people, and she has this plan to kind of take them down from the inside, and she has to basically become the person that she's hated in order to take them down, and that's the route that she goes on. And it just incorporates a lot of like economics, and it's kind of not third person omniscient, but it feels kind of reminiscent of something like The Grace of Kings and how it's told. It's just a very unique book. If you like political fantasy, you may really like it, but it's a book
Just
I've
for the
thought about a lot
record,
since reading it.
Just for the record, Petrick gave
Yes.
it 1 star.
He did. Yeah, it's
Which is
classic.
great.
He also
And
gave
it's
Lions
funny.
Ground on 1 star.
No, he did not.
Swear to God.
Did he really?
That's
It's so
Petrick
interesting
has,
how
he doesn't have a ton of 1 stars, but his 1 stars are
interesting.
Huh.
they're there. Yeah, he doesn't like Lions of Aversan at all. I don't think he ever gave GGK another shot.
That's the cool thing. You never know what's gonna work for you. Yeah.
It's
I'm
I mean,
trying to find
it's
the
hard
spelling
too, because like
Still added it
If I
to
was to, like,
TBR. Still gonna
self
look at it.
should try. I think RJ would like it for sure, because RJ, you were talking about books that where authors kind of do things that are very different. I haven't read
Yeah.
another book that's like Trader Baru Cormorant.
Yeah.
If I was to like have someone sit down in front of me right now and I could convince them to read an entire series, it would be Realm of the Elderlings, Sun Eater, you know, the ones that I've recently finished. And I'm just like, read this series. Like,
Yeah,
please. Yeah, people get really sick of me recommending Mortal Techniques, and I'm like, I mean, I'm not going to stop.
I can't wait to read those.
It's a good time.
Yeah.
It's a good
I need
time.
to finish. I need to read the second one. Yeah.
Yep. They get better each book, and that third one just, I love it so much.
Sweet.
So, yeah. Well, cool. I put the,
Thanks,
yeah, absolutely. Thank you for being on the channel and chatting with me this evening. I put everybody's, hi Pete, I know it's shocking, right? Yeah, I put everybody's books that they recommended over in the chat. Mine was The Blood of Crows by Alex Pierce. I forgot to put that in the chat. And also, if you haven't already subscribed to these three gentlemen, all of their channel links are down in the description below. So go sub to them and give Theo some crap on his videos, and be great fun. Go back and watch
subscribe
RJ's
and unsubscribe.
BookTube newbie tag. You know, do all of the things.
No, don't do that. Don't ever
go back and watch all of our first videos.
Yeah,
don't do that. That's awful.
Says
It's awful.
Theo. Says Theo. Who
I had no idea
what
already
we started off
lighting.
Amazing.
Yeah, we're not talking.
He was like,
to you
"Don't
anymore.
watch my first video.
Don't
watch my
watch
first
it,
video.
guys. Don't
Theo,
watch
your first
it.
video
It's
was
awful.
fine. Your first
It's
video was
awful.
great."
I was like, hey, I guess BookTube is a thing. Maybe I'll read books and talk about them. So whatever.
Yeah. So go subscribe to the channels, and thank you guys again. And we will see you all in the next video. See you later, guys.
Sounds good.
Have a good
Everyone.
night or morning.
Thanks for watching.